Hi Gemini, welcome to your April 2024 reading and the eclipse season. There was something that you were working on quite meticulously and with, I think, a fair bit of expectation that it was going to work, that it was going to provide the results you were after, that it was going to bring about your desire or desires. Because I don't feel like this was something small. I feel like it was also perhaps tied into your life vision or how you saw yourself. So this is a more long term, perhaps, goal or undertaking, or at least it had the potential to be. And there are still some emotions to process about that. So give yourself the time and grace to do that processing, to feel the feelings as long as they're there and to sit with them. I also see that perhaps you felt that this was something that was destined or fated, or that it was tied to those things for you. And perhaps you really believed in it. And the absence of it now feels kind of like a void. You might feel a little tricked or a little let down. Because it's kind of like somebody pulled the curtain back and nothing was there. However, I think a little bit of that is this Five of Cups reversed, how you're feeling, and the need to process that rather than there actually being nothing there, if that makes sense. And yet, at the same time, there is a need to look at why things have ended this way or why we've ended up here feeling alone, feeling sort of troubled by the question of why did that even happen? What was that even for? Why did I put all that energy into this? And there's a bit of accountability that needs to be taken in that process. There was something that wasn't quite nurtured enough here, Gemini. That could be yourself, especially if this involves another person that you were giving a lot to, or it could be the other person or the relationship in general. Perhaps you took a little bit of it for granted, or because you had seen something that you believed was fated or part of your destiny, that you started to believe that it wasn't going to, or wasn't capable of, or just simply wouldn't leave, that it was going to be. There was a level of assurance, and perhaps that was self-assurance, or just a lot of faith in whatever this was. And I think at a certain point, perhaps you believed it would just be there, regardless of what happened, or how much you watered it, or nurtured it. But you found out that that wasn't the case. And again, it could be that the other person was not nurturing the connection or nurturing you. But Gemini, honestly, I feel like this is more you. Now I'm aware that, that's not going to resonate with everyone. Because there's this tendency that you might have, and you might need to reflect on, Gemini, to just assume that things are going to go the way that you've seen, or the way that you have a feeling they're going to go. And it's not that you need to distrust your intuition or your vision. There's a call here for more discernment. And more self-reflection. Because I think you can get quite trapped in your own inner world, and perhaps you forget that you need to step out of that and to, actually interact with the other person, or, whatever it is here. You need to let them know how you feel. You have to do the outward thing, right? They don't and can't know what's going on inward if you don't tell them, or if you don't express it or show it in some way. And while you can operate, I feel, from this place of understanding through your feeling and through your intuition about how another person feels towards you, and you're quite happy to exist in that more cerebral space, more energetic space. A lot of people exist in the more earthy, more mundane space, right? Where they need to be shown things. They need to be reassured. They need to see the evidence. And so as you move forward, something to think about and something to reflect on is, how do you come more out of that inner world for the people that you want to keep close to you? Because it's not that you're being selfish. It's just you're really in your own orbit. And most people aren't. Most people are, reaching out to others and trying to commingle in that way. And so they can't quite understand. And perhaps you even seem distant, and that you don't care about them as much. But, on your side of that, you're over here like, I'm doing everything, and I'm planning all of these things, and I'm trying to manifest the vision that I see for me in this person or situation. They can't see that, though. And so remembering that they can't see that, because it's within you. And so how to bring someone else into that, and to allow it to nurture and create the groundwork for your relationships, is going to be super important. And if you're afraid of perhaps overwhelming someone with all of that energy, with the tide that comes through, the wave that comes through when you do so, if it does overwhelm them, that's okay. But if it overwhelms them to the point where they want to walk away, that's a pretty good test. That's a pretty good indication of, oh, well, that's not my person, or that's not my situation, or my group of people. There's not really room going forward, Gemini, to, especially with what you want, and especially in regards to relationships that you want in your life, keeping that barrier there, or that distance there, is not going to help you cultivate these relationships. It's not going to help you get closer to people. Because to others, it feels like the exact opposite. It feels like neglect. It feels like you're not really there. Maybe you're half there, or you're distracted or distant. And so there's a part of you that you do need to bring to the forefront, even if it's scary to do so, or even if you think that, people are going to think you're, I don't know, crazy or obsessive or whatever it is. If they think that, then, they can go along. They can go somewhere else. Because this is the part of you that is not seen. It's the part of you that really cares very deeply about the people that you care about. And yet at the same time, they can't feel it because it's not being shown. And you can't expect them to. It doesn't matter. And yeah, it doesn't matter how much time, or how long you've known them. You can't expect them to just know or to just understand. It's not enough to say, well, I've been around for this long. Shouldn't you understand that? No. It's time to come out of that secret world and invite somebody in with you. Let them see the full you. But before you do that, this disappointment in what has not manifested and what has not become, what has fallen away from you, must be dealt with first. There's a lot of answers to why, if you're willing to dive into that honestly with yourself. You'll see some patterns, you'll see the things that you need to change, that you need to understand about yourself in relation to other people. Whatever the other person's part in it doesn't really matter. It's more, how did you contribute to the falling away of this? Or, what were some signs that you needed to see, or what were the patterns that were coming out of you that perhaps facilitated this end as well? Or was it that you got into a situation and thought all these beautiful things with someone that really didn't care? That's a pattern too. There's a way to understand your part in that. Not seeing that this person didn't care, or projecting too much onto the relationship itself or situation itself, to the point where you weren't really seeing the other person or people, and you were just seeing the vision and what you wanted. It could be a kind of selfish thing to do, but we all fall into it. And the purpose of doing this reflection is not to beat yourself up. That's a waste of time. The purpose is to learn from it. And to get to a point where you're so radically honest with yourself that you really start to see true healing. I hope this was helpful for you, Gemini, and I'll see you next month.